Welcome to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Lincoln Shrike. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. You can find all the video episodes, FloTrack.org/FloTrack podcast. Find us wherever you download your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Lincoln, we have a meet to recap on today's show.
It was a pretty exciting thing to watch, and I realized instantly how much I had missed real live track and field when I was excited about the women's 200-meter hurdles, an event I had never seen in my entire life. There were enough stars to keep me entertained the whole time, and I had fun with the extracurriculars, like the cardboard cutout fans. I saw Homer Simpson at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Michael Jordan, a bunch of people with face masks on.
LeBron was there.
LeBron was there. I feel like the arts and crafts industry in Oslo got a nice boost by the putting on of this meet. So all in all, I mean, I think it delivered more than expected, not only with the times and whatnot, but the crowd shots and everything, just the aura overall. It was a fun event. I don't even want to be cynical about it. It was fun.
We can say we've seen a professional 200-meter hurdles race before. If you were to say that, you'd have to have been 70, 80 something years old or gone to a very obscure track meet. Now we can say we've done it. We wanted to do some winners and losers, your favorite way to break down a meet for the Impossible Games. But you seem to be in a good mood, so I'm assuming you're just going to go winner, winner, winner across the board here. But there's such a variety of events to choose from, a variety of angles to attack this. I'll let you go first as the veteran of this concept.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. I thought you were going somewhere more with that. Can I start with the loser?
I just passed the ball directly to you, and you took the ball and you sat there for a second, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about what I was going to do. Can I start with a loser? Is that fine? Because I just want to get this one out of the way so we can talk about more positive things.
It's up to you. Yeah, sure.
Okay. How sad was the whole situation in Kenya? That was, I just felt awful for them. Not only does it come out with Kenya's own former Olympic champion, now some would say disgraced doping suspended athlete / now a conspiracy theorist, Asbel Kiprop. He comes out with a tweet and responding to some other tweet saying, "Don't lie. You know they ran a 5:04 on Tuesday. Then there was a lap counting error or something, and they had to rerun it, and it was a 5:03." And I thought, Asbel's credibility, it's not great, but there might be something to this. Then we watch the event, and sure enough, Timothy Chariot runs 5:03, which is obviously blown away by Jacob Ingebrigtsen's 4:50. You felt bad for the Kenyan athletes because you have to believe they did in fact run this the day before because Asbel was right on. And the weather was just atrocious. And obviously the altitude was a big impediment. And obviously guys like Elijah Managoy, not yet in shape. I mean, they just got their butts absolutely whipped by factors I think were out of their control. I don't know if they overestimated the altitude that they were going to be able to compete, but it was basically no contest from the beginning. And just seeing the shots of their stadium and it being, torrential rain and wind, they unfortunately were losers of the event. I think they were never in a fair fight, but it was just funny how the whole thing went down. And it does seem like they ran it the day before, which was weird because, in Renaud Lavillagne's case, they said, oh yeah, he competed a couple days ago and it was fine. This time, the people who put on the meet tried to at least obscure the fact that the Kenyans ran a day or two before, which was kind of strange. It's like, well, why are we saying this is one way here and then not saying it for this 2K? It was quite interesting. But yeah, the Kenyans had a tough go of it at the old Impossible Games.
Yeah, situation out of their control. But I want to go back first just to see and deconstruct just how ridiculous this was. So you get an Asbel Kiprop tweet here. Spoiler alert. I mean, do not binge a Netflix show with Asbel Kiprop. He will tell you the ending when you're on episode number 4 or 5. And then he says there was a lap counting error. How is there a lap counting error in a
It's
2K?
5
It
laps.
is
5
it
laps.
is and they're running close to or near 60 seconds. You can just look for the round numbers and then ring the bell when it's really close to 4. I don't know if that part of it is true. Maybe I thought when I saw the weather, I thought, oh, maybe they tried to do it on Tuesday and the weather was really bad and they abandoned it and then they tried to do it the next day and the
And it was
weather
also bad.
was even worse. The Norwegian squad, the weather's nice, the pacing is on. They got the fancy wave light technology going around the
Yeah.
track, and Kenya's jumping through puddles there. I will say this. I will say this about this event. If you're going to pull out a loser from this, virtual match racing, I think I'm out on after
You
this.
think?
I can do
Okay.
it with the field events. I can get down with it because you're used to taking turns. You're used to one at a time. But then they go split screen boxes like we are in right now. You were, the Norway team. I'm the Kenya team. But it's like you're squinting. You're trying to see the times. You need to
Yeah.
have like, even if it was close, I don't think it would have been as interesting as they thought. I would have been fine just focusing on one thing. Ingebrigtsen is a good enough athlete. He could carry this on its
Yeah.
own. Also, did we need to include a team that's at altitude? There's a bunch of other countries you could have included here
You would
that
have
aren't
thought
at
they could have gotten like
altitude.
the Bowerman Track Club or something with, three Americans against. That would have been more fun. I mean, I understand Chariot's the best 1500-meter runner in the world, and you could argue Ingebrigtsen is the second best, so maybe that was the thinking there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the altitude ended up to I guess it shouldn't have been that big of a surprise. The altitude ended up being a tremendous factor along with the weather, while the Norwegians gladly clicked along. They had great pacing. Even the pacing wasn't great. It was just the weather was just it was just completely was a major factor, and it
Mm-hmm.
was not a major factor for the sea level folks in Bislett Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give Jacob an A though.
Oh my
And
gosh!
and I mean I guess we're not doing grades. We're doing just winners and
Yeah,
losers, but he, he knocked it out of the park. I mean 450 looked
it's
pretty
just
I mean
incredible.
the times in these things don't really matter to me. He's clearly in shape. He ran that road 5K just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He hasn't stopped at all for the pandemic year.
Is he? I mean, he's not the best distance runner in the world because that's obviously Eliud Kipchoge, and I know it's hard to compare 1500 5K guys to marathoners. But as far as 1500 5K goes, I don't think there's any debate. I think Jakob Ingebrigtsen's the best two event runner in distance runner in the world. I mean, he's so good right now. Name me somebody else who could run a 355 1600 and then close in 54.
Mm-hmm.
It was absurd how dominant he is, and even Henrik, he's being obscured a little bit, and he's been the older brother, and he's been kind of the third of the Ingebrigtsen's brothers for the last few years, but he's in pretty good shape too. He's obviously overshadowed by this 19-year-old phenom. I just, man, I think I'll be surprised if Jakob doesn't have a gold in either the 15 or the 5 in the next couple of years. And I know Chariot he's still great and everything, but it really every year Ingebrigtsen in the last 3 or 4 years has taken a step up, and I think some of us forget how close he was to a medal. I mean, he went for gold. Maybe if he would have just played for the medals in the 5K instead of going for gold, we'd be talking about him being a
Mm-hmm.
medalist. But he truly went for gold, and it cost him. He basically collapsed at the finish line. But this guy is so incredible, and each race seems like a step up. I really do think he's the best 1500 5K runner in the world, and I think you'd be hard pressed to argue against that.
I think the only person who could be in that same conversation would be Kajelka, based on what
Yep.
he did in the
Yeah.
mile indoors. Now he's running a whole variety of events, and he's not
Yeah.
running many Diamond League 1500s. That was mostly an
Mm-hmm.
indoor thing, and then he was 5 and 10,000. But there's not many people who are doing, even last year. You don't even need to look at this performance at the Impossible Games. Look at what he did last year in Doha, being in the mix in both of those races. Now he didn't come away
Yep.
with any medals afterwards, but it's rare to make it and succeed in those two events, and he's doing it right now. He's a person who is definitely hurt by them not being in the Olympics this year because he
Yep.
is 100% raring and ready to go. I don't know, times in a 2000, take it or leave it, but just closing in 54, that is something you can hang your hat on.
And it's we're all going to remember the fact that Jakob Ingebrigtsen got his peak year, his 19-year-old season cut short, and he's going to be the old age of 20 next year for the Olympics. He's going to be well past his prime. No, I'm just kidding.
So you're saying don't feel bad for him. You're saying don't feel too. It's something with
He's
Mondo
obviously
though,
having
right?
fun.
It's something with
Yeah,
Mondo,
same.
super young,
Yeah,
but having a career year. There's no guarantee. Just because they're super young doesn't mean they're going to be doing this when they're 25.
Yeah. Who do you think's more likely to break a world record next? Do you think it's Chariot in the 1500 or Ingebrigtsen in the 1500? I mean, I guess it's easier to say
Chariot.
Chariot. You
Chariot.
think?
Chariot. I mean,
I think
yes.
Ingebrigtsen's taken a big step towards him. He was he was kind of on the Diamond League circuit the only guy who was even competitive with him, not in the last lap, but competitive with him at the. Yeah, I guess that's a little revisionist history.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
He was arguably the second best 1500 runner in the world last year, and I don't know if
there was
Ingebrigtsen's going up another level. Okay.
There was such a huge gap, though. Let's go back to Doha. There was such a huge gap between Chariot and everybody else. It was a Kipchoge like, or a Sifan Hassan like golf. If you're asking me if they had the Olympics this year, does Ingebrigtsen have a better chance of gold? Does he have a better chance of upsetting Chariot, or does he have a better chance of somebody from the pack beating him? Well, clearly it's the latter. Clearly, there's a lot of people who are in his neck of the woods, whereas Chariot is clear for the moment. I don't know if that's going to be the case in a couple of years anymore, but I still think he has a really, really tough, as everybody does, but he has a tough slog to get a gold medal. I mean, the 5,000 is going to be, it's just going to be good. It's like they're going to, you don't need a Chariot-like figure. There's so much depth there with Kenya and Ethiopia, and obviously with Paul Chalimo and Mohamed. Like it's going to be a incredibly tough race all the time. And then when you have a figure like Chariot in the 15, you got people in your way, a lot of people in your way.
Yeah. I just think of, I don't know. I feel like there's no way this guy doesn't get a medal in the 1500 and 5K in Tokyo, or one of those two in Tokyo. I don't know if he just needs to focus on one distance. I don't know, exactly what's best. I guess that's not true because it worked out pretty well for him in Doha, making both finals and being competitive. But I think he's the best runner in the world right now on the track. Obviously, I know distance events are different. He's not the best 10K runner, but I think you throw him anything from 1500 to 5K, he's the best runner in the world right now.
I mean, if you had to do some sort of combo Tour de France like stage race, yes, I believe you, but I don't think he's right now. I think he's well behind Chariot, and the contingent in the 5,000 is formidable. Sondre Moen in the 25K got a European record. So, I mean, he maybe he's the best runner in the world right now. That race was not on during the main broadcast, so we did not get to actually see Sondre Moen run a ton of laps, just a ton of laps.
So that is it's 50 plus like 62 and a half laps. That's a few. That's a few. He's the only finisher there. 112 something. What's that per mile? Did you break it down? I didn't.
I did not break it down. I remember
something.
Moses Mosop, after he ran the really fast Boston Marathon, went to
I remember
the
that
year
one,
later, or that same one, and he did a 30K on the track, right? But then they got his splits at 25, and I think maybe even 20, 25, and 30, and set a whole bunch of records. But I hadn't heard of anybody doing it since then. So congrats to look. You got to if there's a meet in Norway and you're a Norwegian star, they're putting you on the bill. You got to figure out a way into the track somehow, and that's what it was for Sondre Moen.
It's just crazy with how small Norway is. That Sondre Moen's a fantastic distance runner. He's got some European records, and he's like the 6th most popular Norwegian track and field athlete. Like, who would have thought that they would just be so, like, the per capita track and field star for Norway is through the roof. They probably have that record. Like, every 8th person has done something significant in track and field in that country.
All right, who else do you have on your either winners or losers from this meet?
Well, obviously Carson Warholm, speaking of Norwegian track stars, that was ridiculous. It's like his stride got even longer than it was before. It's like his pump up jam of yelling was even more intense in a race by himself. He had to scream for the 7 other absent lanes. 33:78 is a pretty ridiculous time. It's hard to translate that to a 400-meter hurdles without kind of distorting it, because you could be like, that translates to a sub 46, 400 hurdles time. It's not quite that doesn't work out quite that way. There's other factors to be considered, but I mean, he's in his one would think he's in his routine sub 47 shape. The guy's a freak of nature, and clearly, as he showed last year, the best low hurdler in the world. And it was fun to watch him in his element. He's an entertainer, and that we can. Sometimes that's few and far between in track and field. Other people kind of just handle their business, but he's certainly an entertainer.
Yeah.
He was the perfect headliner for this event, and I am going to miss seeing him, battling off Rai Benjamin and Abdurrahman Samba and in the Olympics this year. And I hope, he's at this level, if not beyond this, when we do get to see him in significant competition.
You're right. The word entertainer is a perfect way to describe him. He can handle the stage by himself. You can put him out there like a rock star up there, just a microphone and a whole bunch of people around him, and he can carry it with just how good he is, but also the aura that he has around him. Digging into the nitty gritty here, PJ Vizel on Twitter, who always is great with the splits, he's a track coach, said that when Warholm ran 46.92 in Zurich, he went through at 33.8 for 300. Now, that's two curves in a straight, right? Yeah. So this was faster, but this was, if you could cook up some formula, I mean, he was not in, I don't think he would have run a, sub 47 in this meet. But considering the fact that he's by himself, first major competition in a season that is all over the place, it was an impressive showing. He obviously smashed the previous world best time, which I will just say the world record, because it's the fastest time anybody has run, and the conditions were fair and legal. So
I know we talk so much about, with hurdlers and people in the know about if you're 12 or 13 stepping for hurdles. Does he like 9 step? Because his stride, I don't remember them being as long as they are. And the announcer pointed it out. And so, of course, I looked at it, and, it's been since Doha or whatever, since I've last seen him compete. It's just crazy. It looks like he's overstriding, but it works. And you wonder, like, why can't every hurdler get out as aggressively as he does? Is it a fear? Is it trying to close well? Because he closes well and he starts incredibly. It's just it's insane to me. And he attacks the event like he's pissed off at the notion that there's hurdles in the way, and that he just has the perfect attitude for the event. And I just love this current era of 400 hurdles. I know we've talked ad nauseum about the 400 hurdles is the event in the world, but I mean, Carson Warholm is the entertainment. I forget about even all the other stars. I know Dalila Muhammad in Sydney, that's a great thing, but Warholm and recency bias is there, but he is, I think, underappreciated how much fun he is to watch. It is a complete joy.
Yeah. I think with him, I'm not sure on the step pattern, but he's not a tall gentleman. Rai Benjamin is tall. Rai Benjamin is tall. So I think long legs, I think that factors in to the comfort level. But if you were looking for a performance to get excited again about the 400-meter hurdles, if you had forgotten that it's a marquee event, this was enough to remind you. And it was just one guy running against himself. And as I mentioned in the recap, it's like he was perfectly suited for this because he never needs competition. He frequently races without. He'll go to a meet in Europe where Samba and Benjamin aren't there, and the next best guy is a second and a half behind him, and everything is a time trial essentially. And even when he has Samba and Benjamin in the race, he goes out so hard, it's not even like he's using him, which is why I laughed. I laughed a bit when it's like, well, why is this a world best and not a world record? Well, the event is not considered a world record eligible, I guess, event, but also because there was only one person in the race and there needs to be 3 people in the race for it to be record eligible.
Oh,
Because
really?
as we
Okay.
know, yeah, because as you know, the only thing harder than setting a world record is setting a world record by yourself. So why shouldn't that also be a world record? I don't get it. That's
I
a
don't.
rule that does not need to be there. In the same vein of relay teams need to have everybody represent the same country for them to count as a world record. We need to make some revisions to this. These are rules for the sake of rules, and we can chop some stuff off there.
I mean, if it's an event at a professional track meet, if the meet
It's
organizers decide
sanctioned.
it's an
Yeah.
event, a sanctioned event, just call it a world record.
Mm-hmm.
No one, I know we make, you know, claims about this all the time, and it's annoying about, is it a world record or world best? And we worry about our perception outside of the sport, but it is stupid. I mean, just call it a world record. Everyone within the sport knows it's not as valuable as the 400 hurdles. The guy who
Yeah.
had the record before, I forget his name, but he wasn't a medalist. You know, he was a good 400 hurdler, but it wasn't like it was Edwin Moses. We know it's not as significant of a record, but stop the world record versus world best. If you're going to run 300-meter hurdles, there needs to be a world record for it. And I'm tired of the world best crap. It's
Mm-hmm.
annoying. It's so stupid. Is that a world record? And then you get the Johnnies on Twitter who say, well, it's a world best. Yeah. Okay. So it's just, it's like the dumbest thing. We don't do that in any other. This guy in the Guinness Book of World Best put 70,000 plates on his chin. Well, we know that size of plates is not an officially Guinness recognized plate diameter. So that goes in the Guinness Book of World Best, not Guinness Book of World Records. Stop. That's stupid. It's a stupid thing. Just recognize the event. If it's a thing that people set up and it's measured right, it's a
Yeah.
record. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean he needs to get $100,000 check. That's fine. Save the world record bonuses for the events that are competed at championships. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's annoying. It's dumb. And
Yeah.
I'm tired of it.
Well, people always throw back, well, then would you count Kipchoge's Vienna race? But that's totally different because
That's
those
completely
are
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
different.
red herring because you can still put rules in place for what governs what a world record is and what a world record isn't, but make those rules should make sense. And a thing like 3 people need to be in it, as if there's somehow you're at an advantage if only one person is in a race. If Timothy Chariot went out yesterday and ran a 1500 instead of a 2000 and broke the world record by himself, we should count that. That's the greatest 1500 meter performance of all time. It's harder, even in the sprints. It's harder when there's fewer people on the track. Track's simple. Let's keep it that way. Keep track simple. Okay.
I totally agree.
Let's move on. Who else do you have here? So Warholm winner.
Yep.
Obviously,
I'll go a little
Ingebrigtsen
bit.
general winner.
Yes, of course. Yes, because Philip, although he was third in that 2K, he did run a nice 2:16 1K about 45 minutes before. So he had a nice day. I'm going to go a little bit off the track. Let's go to the loser department. The people with the moving puppets on sticks, those are losers.
Oof.
I know you pointed out to me as it was creepy. And obviously we've seen those before. People, you'll see sometimes like kids on the streets with those like dancing. It can be kind of cool, but this didn't work for me. I was happy to keep with the cardboard cutouts and the people on rooftops. I didn't need the arm bar puppets. I could have done without it.
Could have just filled the stadium with cardboard cutouts and I'd have been a fan. It was only the first 5 or 6 rows in very select spots. I say just get 20,000 or however many of those bad boys, fill it up. How many times did you check Airbnb to see if you could rent one of those apartments next to Bislett Stadium for next year?
I didn't, but it does look like a nice area. I mean, it definitely Oslo is it's on my bucket list for sure now.
Yeah. It had a Wrigley Field vibe with the people watching from afar. That's how I felt about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's music to my ears.
I'll go. Listen, I hate to just be so optimistic about everything, but I think both Mondo and Renault are winners. The only
Mm-hmm.
loser in the pole vault competition was whoever is getting paid, because I'm assuming he has someone pay him to trim Renault's tree. That thing was in the
Mm,
way. On the left side of the bar,
it
you go up.
was.
What if he veered left and all of a sudden the one of the greatest pole vaulters of all time is somehow stuck in a tree during a
Right.
competition?
If he
We were close
knocks
to
a
that happening.
squirrel, if he knocks a squirrel out, but the squirrel goes over the bar, does that count as a clearance? Like I was unclear with that. I think Renault held his own. It's been no secret
Short
that
run
he's
up, man.
yeah,
581 in
that
a short run up. That was impressive.
581 is pretty solid. He hasn't been the Renault of 20, previous 2016, the last few
Mhm.
years. And I think that's probably, he's on the decline of his career, which is fine considering he's in his, what is he, 33, 34? He's been good for a long while. But yeah, he held his own. I mean, Mondo was rusty, as he said, was cleared 586 to win. I thought Mondo, based on what we had seen in early 2020, I thought,
Mhm.
there's a chance if he's just like a complete maniac right now, he could maybe go for the 614 world record. That was never in the cards. Mondo clearly was rusty, and Renault, even competing on twos, gave it a run in the imperfect circumstances of jumping at his house on, you like you said, the short runway, and then having the foliage in his way. He kind of had to dodge that to get his 581 clearance. It's pretty good clearance for having no season up to this point for Lavillenie.
It's just odd to see one guy in a pro track stadium and then the other guy vaulting just outside his kitchen. It's just a
Yeah,
weird
yeah, yeah.
visual.
It definitely was. The other competitor in the event wasn't nearly as good as those two guys, but he was in the same kit as Mondo, and it was a bit confusing. And he had like
Mm.
a similar haircut. I don't know. It was an optical. It was a challenge. It was a challenge for me. But
We
yeah, the
might
year of the
see
pole
Mondo.
vault continues.
Well, and then we mentioned yesterday about the Sweden Norway dual meet. We might see Mondo heat up because, yeah, 586 is not where he was at during indoor season, but it's not
Mm,
not terrible
no,
jump, not terrible
no,
jump,
you could
and
definitely win a medal with a 586. So
now he's back in a stadium vaulting. He's not trying to clear 5 meters as many times as he can in 30 minutes. He's
no, yeah.
getting closer to resembling a real competition. So I will give him the winner label for
Mm,
yesterday,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
along with Renault. I think both of them won. I mean, it was an age-old battle between live Mondo and tape-delayed Renault, and now we know how that ends up.
It's a classic. I mean, I know they've tried that in literally no other sport, so that was unique. Not sure why
Asbel
they couldn't.
Kiprop
Maybe
was
the
not
weather
fooled.
was bad. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm not sure why they couldn't do it live. Maybe it was the weather or something, or it was just a challenge. I mean, I guess as we're finding out, they didn't do the Kenyan 2K live either, so maybe there was complete technical challenges on everywhere from doing that. But regardless,
Well,
it went off. The pole vault went off pretty well, I thought.
yeah, it sounds good when you're pitching it. Oh, they'll go against each other in real time. But what
Yeah.
if some technological issue comes up? Then you don't have the results. Like you have the stadium in the 2K, then you have the stadium results, but then you have no idea what happened in the other half of the race. So then you wait and you wait and you wait. That seems like it could be difficult. You can't hold up the race in the stadium to let the Wi-Fi reset. So,
No,
uh,
that's definitely true.
yeah.
I don't
All
know
right.
what the best situation was there, but I think they slightly missed the mark in the 2K. But yeah, you're at the mercy of technology. You kind of have to make tough decisions, and
It
pre-recording was
sounds
probably the
Well, it sounds like with the pole vault, they were just telling him. So they were telling him, okay, Renault missed or Renault made it, and then he would
okay.
go. So it was. I don't know if he was watching it, but he was hearing what was happening. Now it happened the day before,
Yeah.
so you can take that for how much of a influence that would have in the competition. Also, how much you want to bet Mondo texted him and said, "Come on, man, how high did you
Yeah,
vault?"
yeah. I would imagine that
Yeah, and
he did that for sure because I mean those guys are close, so he was wanting to know.
He wrote back 620. LOL.
Yeah. Yeah.
How bad do you
Probably.
want your record?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Other winners and losers. What do you got?
other winners and losers. Let me
I'll
think
say,
through. Okay, go
I
ahead.
mean, I'll go Wavelight Technology loser. I had a lot higher expectations for it, and maybe it needed to be, they needed more of a contrast in the lighting, so that way the
Yeah.
wave light stood out more.
Was
In
another
in a sim,
advantage for the Team Norway. They had it, and obviously the Kenyans didn't. I mean, it was just kind of like, why are we making this to where I know they were going after a European record, but it's like, do we really
yeah,
have to flex the fact that this stadium is well equipped technologically, and the team in Kenya is like dealing with a massive storm? Like, it was just absurd.
yeah.
But
Well, they had it.
they
I'm assuming they had it for the 25K, and they had it for the women's 3,000, where Grovedal didn't get the Norwegian record, but you couldn't really see it until you got really, really close. I think you need to, if you're going to do this, you know how NBA stadiums have done the thing where they turn off some of the lights in the stadium. The Lakers started it, and now other teams have done it. It just makes the court pop a little bit more. It
yeah.
makes it look like a stage. I think you'd have to figure out something with that to
Okay.
really get the most out of Wave Light. So I'm a huge Wave Light fan. Remember, that was the event I was most excited about because I wanted to see them chase a light around the stadium.
Yeah.
But like I still had no idea. Did you have any idea what pace Ingebrigtsen was on based on the lights from watching, or were you just looking at splits?
I wasn't, because they were going back and forth. No, I was looking at
Mm-hmm.
splits, and because, and that was another thing. It would have been nice if they had like on the screen, like if they could have figured out how far, like could have had a little running thing about how far each team was into the race. That might have been helpful. I mean, that's tough. It's, they that's not exactly easy or an accurate science to be like, oh, he's 1900 meters, 1920, 1925, 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult thing to do, but the viewing experience left a little bit to be desired for sure. And I didn't pay attention to the lights. And then the women's 3K with Grovedal, did she even finish? It was after the
Mm-hmm.
stream ended, so I didn't even see it. I didn't.
Yeah, I want to say it was 8:37. She missed it by 5 or 6 seconds, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So anyways, that's fine. You knew you were probably going to miss on one of those. But yeah, the wavelight technology, it didn't, I don't think anybody in Silicon Valley is jumping on to invest in it based off of how that meet went yesterday. Perhaps if it would have been a little more prominent, we would have a little bit some seed money going on to the wavelight
Yeah.
technology in track and field, but as is such, they're still out there hunting for their series A funding.
Seriously. The women's 3,000 was. Oh wait, you're right.
I
Oh,
thought
I'm
I saw
sorry.
she DNF'd.
I was looking
Yeah.
at her PB was 8:37. Excuse me. Yes,
Yeah, I don't know what
her
happened.
PB was 8:37, and this is DNF. So
Yeah, who
okay, that would
knows?
have been tough. When you have one person in the race, you have to finish.
DNF. Yeah, yeah.
There were some two people races like the 600. I think the 600 in lanes is a winner because nobody knows what pace they're on, and it's just a complete mess, and I love it.
I missed that one. Like I said, I watched the 200 hurdles where the two women did like a fake hug at the end. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
If maybe not just a hair, I don't know, tasteless. Maybe not tasteless, but I don't know. I was. Let's be honest. I was there to watch Warholm and the Ingebrigtsens and Mondo.
What's wrong with
So
fake hugs? You want them to really hug?
eh,
The whole they're
no,
trying to keep
I don't
social distance.
know. You can't be that close and be social distance, but apparently they've solved it in Norway. I mean, they're having track meets, so I don't know.
The whole 600, was that the idea to put them in lanes because of social distancing? But then the 2000, they're right next to each other. There's people in the
Yeah,
stands that were sitting right next to each other. I think they just did the lane thing just for fun, just to screw with people, because Selena Buchel, who's an 800-meter runner, and you'd think, okay, 800-meter runner, she's going to be a little on the cautious side, goes out in 25.9 for the first 200 and looks
yeah,
like
she felt
she's ahead. Yeah, she looks like she's ahead by about 80 meters. And then you think, oh, man. So she had the double whammy here. She had the double whammy of she's dying because she went out too fast, and the stagger made her look like she was so far ahead and she's in the outside lane. This is going to turn very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
it did in that 600. That was just kind of fun to watch from
Mm-hmm.
a sports science perspective. Had a high from Norway 129.06 to 130.10. So Michelle ended up running right at 2-minute 800 pace, but she went out in 25 point. So that hurts. That hurts.
They'll be telling Norwegian legends for generations to come about the time Selena Buchel went out too aggressively. It'll be used as a allegory to children to not fly too close to the sun. One thing that I was entertained by, the discus. Now, most people know I'm not a huge discus guy. Some would be surprised to know I never threw the discus. Daniel Stahl did end up winning, but when I watched his first throw, he chucked it into the net, which I had never seen someone of his caliber. Maybe that happens more than I realize. But seeing him, the world champion, launch it into the net, I didn't know that. Does that happen regularly?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hammer too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know specific. Like, I don't have Daniel Stahl's spray chart per se in front of me right now, but yeah, that happens quite a bit. The margins are real small there when they're spinning around and getting it out. But yes, that happens quite often. But yeah, that event, Sweden won too over Norway, bragging rights in that one.
Yeah, it went to chalk on that one. As far as I think Peterson's better than whatever.
I was just to say, I think a big winner was hurdles in general. You had 3 hurdle events.
Yeah.
It's in Scandinavia. Hurdle group of countries. Hurdle you.
So. Hurdle. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't think of a good joke there. Warholm brought down the house, and everybody kind of set the stage for him, and the cardboard cutouts were just completely invigorated by it. I heard Homer Simpson was just breaking out the donuts in celebration of all that. As a side note, I made my son, ironically, I made my son a couple of cardboard cutouts because we're so bored. And, since you don't shop in the traditional sense, some of our basic essentials we've been ordering online. So we just flush with cardboard boxes. Those things aren't easy to make, man. My hand got tired cutting those out of so, I mean, I don't know how many people they use to make all those. If that was instead of maybe a project learning about Norwegian history in school, they replaced that this year with fill a quarter of the stadium at Bislett Stadium with cardboard cutouts with whoever you want to do. But it's not an easy thing. You think it's just like, no, but you got to make it look good and then cut that sucker out through thick cardboard. It's easier said than done. And you got to have those things sit up. So I imagine there was some glue or tape situations going on. I'm just wondering how many kids they used to make those.
Yeah. Winner Miss Johannes's class in the 4th grade class. I was trying to think of a Norwegian name, and I was going to say Johansson, but I think that's more Swedish. So
it's more Swedish.
The 300 hurdles. Did you watch the women's 300 hurdles?
Yes. Yeah.
So Steve Cram, the commentator, was talking about Leah Sprunger of Switzerland and how she was going to try this aggressive race plan in terms of steps between the hurdles. And then after the first hurdle, it was clear it went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And it was cool because he brought it up because you don't get that level of, I think the nerdier the better with this track stuff because listen, who's tuning into this stream? It's not some random person who stumbles across it. It's people like you and I who want to know the intricacies and the ins and outs. And there's so much to know about track and field. It's not like any other sports. It's 20 sports in one. So even people who follow it all the time miss it. So you brought up the fact that she's going to do only this amount of steps to the first hurdle. And then in between steps or in between hurdles, she's going to do this. And then immediately, like she stuttered on the first one and it helped to put context into why she struggled. She ended up finishing last. I thought it was just good call by him.
It was. And how many times does that work? Because you always hear, even I remember even Ry Benjamin telling you like, oh, I was trying to 12 step the whole way around and then I got tired and I had to do 13s here or something. It's obviously easier said than done, but first race in a long time and you're trying something new in a new event. And I'd be curious to know, it could be an underrated feature of how well Warholm went yesterday, but like, it's totally different from a flat race in the sense that you have to think of patterns, right? I mean, I know that does
Mhm.
happen in flat races too, but it's obviously more crucial here. Like, how tricky is the off distance for them knowing their steps, because the hurdles are at different points? I wonder, I'm sure that prompted that for her to try to go to a shorter pattern. And but you can't break routine. I mean, it's tough to break your patterns, and she showed that here. But I'd be curious to hear from like Warholm, like how he approached this race relative to a 400 hurdles as far as his steps.
I think it was just longer to the first hurdle, and then everything else
Okay.
was the same.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's so. Yeah, you didn't need to change too much. I think she was doing it more because why not? It's the Impossible Games. This is not the Olympic
Okay.
finals. Let's just do some
It's
stuff.
true.
Let's
Although it
like
may end
no.
up being the biggest meet of the year, but yes, that's sure. Yeah, not the Olympic final.
Well, she probably moves up to number 3 all the time. No, just kidding. Sydney McLaughlin's high school record. I saw Jesse Squire tweet this. Sydney McLaughlin's high school record is in the 38s, and this race was run 39:42. Now,
Yeah,
a Sydney high
she's
school
pretty good.
a Sydney high school record is not the same as a normal high school record, but just to give you some perspective. In the men's race, though, in the men's 300 hurdles, we are going to have a weird conversation at some point. Like your son, I'm just looking at this now. 38:90 is Sydney's record. 38:90, and
Yeah.
Sarah Slot Peterson ran 39:42. We are going to have this weird conversation because your son, in a few years, when he comes really interested in track, maybe he becomes a hurdler, right? At Taylor High School.
Definitely.
He's got the combination of speed, height, and fearlessness that I think will really make him a natural fit. But he's going to look up the all-time list, and he's going to be like, Dada, the number 1 time is a lot faster than the number 2 time. Why is that? And you're going to be like, well, it all started with a global pandemic. And he's going to say, wait, what?
Yeah. That's true. I mean, the 300 hurdles, along with the pole vault, a big winner. It's just getting its shine, and it's gotten a more appropriate record. But yeah, you're not going to see any more well, at least in 2020. I know the season is canceled. Maybe this event is incorporated more in a one-off meet every season.
Women, we're
going
to see it in Zurich. Women, we're going to see it at Zurich. I don't know how many times we're going to see men.
We're just used to seeing the 300 hurdles world lead run at the West Virginia State meet. Now it may actually be run by real professional athletes. I mean, there's a chance we decide to incorporate this event a little bit more. Probably not, but
I'm looking at the women's record for what Muhammad is going to have to tackle, and
it's like 38-16, right?
Oh, 38-16. You have right. You can look right on here. That's right. 38-16 from. Do you know who has it?
Yeah, I looked this up the other day. It was Hejnova.
Okay, 38-16. So
yeah,
she could get that world record.
I would think
not the world best in the Zurich meet that's being run in L.A. It's going to be a long explanation for the youth out there in 20 years. Yeah.
It's too much. And now we're going to be privy to the fact that they can't, we're going to know, was this recorded the day before? Was this recorded 2 days ago? Don't lie to us. We will stick Asbel Kiprop onto the case to figure out the exact timing of the run. Don't lie to us at home, 74 people who watch the Impossible Games.
Recorded by a live studio audience. Just add in a laugh track too. I think that would be great. Some yakety sax there if the wind and the weather are bad like it was before.
I would have been for that.
Do you have any other winners or losers from this meet, Lincoln?
Gosh, I feel like we covered everything. Was there any? I know there was a shot put. I didn't see that. I mean, again, I just
was 100.
Oh, there was 100. Yeah, one in like 10-6 or something, or was it 10-4?
10-5-9.
10.9. They could certainly work on their short sprints in the Nordic countries. That's pretty pathetic.
They DQ'd a guy for a false start at the Impossible Games. Let him back in. What are we doing here?
That is rough. And let alone the guy can't even get. This is his time. I mean, what other point is a guy going to get into a Diamond League adjacent meet, and you false start him, and you say that. Speaking of like telling your kids something, it's like, yeah, one time I got in this professional track meet because it was during a global pandemic. Got to put on the Norway jersey, and then I false started.
Cardboard cutouts were surrounding me.
The pressure was too much. I jumped the gun. It was too much.
I was looking at these creepy mannequin puppeteer situations.
Did he argue with the officials from 6 feet away? Did he?
I hope he
put on a mask to go.
hit him with that "I did not move" at the Impossible Games. Yeah. Just lay down on the track. Sir, you need to leave. How about this one? How about the women's 10,000? Therese Johag gets a PB. Yeah, PB world lead for you. Runs 31:40.
Pretty good. 31:40. She's like a cross country skier as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow,
that's impressive.
Inspired by Ben True, the skier turned distance runner.
I think everybody's a skier in Norway. I think
that's true.
Carson Warholm is also a skier. He did the ski hurdles before he did the
ski hurdles.
Actual hurdles. They brought literally every celebrity I think they have. They had the Eurovision song contestant from Norway sing the Norwegian national anthem.
Is that who
at the
that
beginning.
Was?
They really pulled out all the stops to try to incorporate every single person they could. So I commend them for the effort. Really,
it was
really
a big
good work
effort.
Trying to get everybody there.
It was great. I mean, it was, and you see how fun that was, and you're like, why is track and field not more popular? Well, it could be that they probably lost like $100,000 on this track meet, which how much they had to spend to get this going. It's just like at the end, it's just so funny because everything, bringing back sports is so much fun. And you think, the NBA, it's like everyone's desperate to come back, to make money and to, all the people. And then you just realize like track and field to come back, it requires like goodwill and people willing to lose some cash, because when you're not filling up the stadium and you're not able to get all the marquee names there, I just can't imagine that was anything besides a massive financial loser. Fun to watch. I'm grateful for it, but can't imagine it was a return on the investment.
Today, this will probably be over by the time this show posts, but the vault in the drive-in movie theater in Germany, in Dusseldorf, is taking place.
Yeah. Okay. So who's in that? Is it all German guys? Yeah,
I remember it's Holds Deppy and two other people. Remember, you were really excited about, Bo Kanda is in there.
Of course.
Bo.
Forget Bo.
Yeah. Your theory about this is the year of the pole vault really continues. I wanted to read this Timothy Chariot tweet to you that he posted 6 hours ago. That 2000, first of all, there's 4 pictures here. The first picture of them coming out, it looks like smoke. And did that ever get shown? Pull up this tweet. This tweet is hilarious.
I gotta find
Timothy Chariot. Actually, I'll just let me send this to Alon. Alon, I'm gonna put this in the chat. Can you pull this up if I put this in the chat? I'm gonna throw this to Alon so that people can see this too. Because this just
they look intimidating for sure. I mean that's
a
cool,
like an unfortunate end here about what came next. And then they have the start. The starter's got a face mask on. Shout out to him. And then it's just Chariot by himself. I mean, he's just nobody could stick with him at all. We'll try to get that up for you guys. If not, just look on Timothy Chariot's Twitter. Anyway, the tweet that I wanted to read, that 2,000 meters was tough. We took this seriously with the 3 weeks training we had and did our best.
Yeah, I guess they hadn't been. I underestimated fitness for this team. I mean, I guess their focus could be on staying healthy. I mean, 5:03 at 6,000 feet is still pretty stinking good, especially with the conditions. You have to think he would have been pretty competitive with Ingebrigtsen had he been able to run in the same stadium. And he didn't quit, and that's what was good. Oh, we got it up. Ah,
There it
yes.
is. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool photo. That's pretty cool. If
It's
they
a
would have
great.
won, they'd put that on billboards in Nairobi and Eldoret. Like if they would
Yeah.
have emerged victorious.
The tough part is someone sees that, then the next question is, well, what happened next? And you're like, don't worry about that. Don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, you could definitely do the meme that's been popularized this year. It's my plans : and it would be that one, and then 2020 would be one of the next ones, and it would be, I don't know which one. It'd be probably Chariot struggling in this empty stadium by himself to pull his team along. That'd make for a pretty good team there, because they looked badass, and then it just all went to hell with the weather and lack of fitness. Yeah, there you go. That'd be the 2020 view of Tim Chariot.
Well, I like it because my plans, everybody's together, and then 2020 separate. Yeah, it works on a bunch of different levels.
Yeah.
I never know how people define training, but when he says we were training hard for 3 weeks, you're like, well, wait, do you mean just like at all? Like you weren't doing anything?
Yeah, I
never
get that either. Yeah, it's like Timothy Chariot had not run up until May since Doha. Yeah. He is remarkable. He lost 45 pounds in the last 3 weeks. It was quite the transformation. Yeah. No, I assume they were just doing all base work, and then they we got to get in a few track workouts. And so,
for a lot of people, training at the elite level doesn't mean it means actually doing hard, specific, focused workouts. Just running to maintain fitness does not count. So that way, it confuses the rest of us out there who are like, man, you got really good shit. You just started running 4 weeks ago. That's just incredible. How long did you take off? 2 months. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's you can look back at happier times when it's not raining and see them preparing for this, and it just, man, it looks like they were having so much of a better time than they did yesterday. But they'll be back. We have to do a rematch somehow. Maybe they'll switch locations. Can the Norwegians come to Nairobi and the Kenyans go to Oslo for the rematch? That's only fair.
Yeah, let's make this a best 3 of 5 scenario. Yeah. And then the culminating event is they're in the same place at the same time, and they just are facing off in a real track race. That's how it ends. Maybe best 2 or 3. They get to switch spots for the next one, and then the final one is they meet in Eugene in October for the pre-classic. There it is. I just figured it out.
If the University of Oregon is okay with it, because we don't know the answer to that just yet. But
pending approval by all important bodies. Yep. All right. We'll leave it there. Have a great weekend, everyone. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. Lincoln, thank you. Alon, thank you for producing. We will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.